Hi guys, my name's Aymara and I am a second year medical student at the University of Nottingham, and sadly the time has come to stop coasting and start grinding for end of year exams. In today's video I'm going to be taking you guys along with me whilst I create my revision timetable, so hopefully you can learn a revision tip or two and feel slightly more motivated about the daunting exam season that lies ahead of us. As always, make sure to like, subscribe and turn on the post notifications, and follow me on Instagram and TikTok. So up until my second year of medical school now, I have always made a prospective timetable. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I have managed to be successful in my A-level grades in getting into medical school doing so, but if anything, I feel like my prospective timetable technique started to become more of an obstacle than an actual revision aid. For example, I'd always schedule to the minute what my whole revision season was gonna look like months in advance. And this meant that I couldn't foresee when things would naturally come up. This meant that it was impossible to anticipate all the different things that would come up that would mess and get in the way of my revision timetable. Also, I didn't anticipate how long it would take to revise some topics because I hadn't gotten to them yet, or I didn't realise how little I knew once I got to revise it. So this meant that I would schedule in to have finished that topic and move on to the next one, but I still wasn't even halfway through. So I'd choose to finish it and then everything would just get shifted downwards. And also the trap I fell into was to only revise the topics I actually enjoyed, because it was so much easier to stay motivated, to continue to study them, to not procrastinate. And what would happen is that I'd let the topics that I was bad at, that I needed more help in, slip away and just not deal with. So since watching Ali Abdaal's video and a few other videos on YouTube, I thought, right, I've heard this retrospective timetable name kind of around. Let's have a go at it and let's see if it works. And you know what? I'm pretty much sold on the idea. So a retrospective timetable is one that you fill in as you start to revise. And the reason this is helpful is because it enables you to prioritize topics that you are naturally worse at, so you can consolidate them more and therefore bring them up to the same standard as topics you're better at. Enables you to clearly do some spaced repetition, which we all know is so helpful. For those of you who don't know, spaced repetition is essentially spreading out your revision over a period of time. And also it means that your timetable is a bit more fluid and less impacted by any things that come up. Now I'm gonna head over to my laptop and we're gonna fill in the timetable together. So I'm not going to lie to you, I have no idea where to even begin categorising all the content I've learnt this year in order to input it into my retrospective timetable. I'm stuck because we've covered huge topics like the whole of the endocrine system, but it just seems silly to say, right, I'm going to revise the endocrine system today, because it covers topics from the hypothalamus, the pituitary, the adrenal glands, the pancreas, the thyroid. So it's literally just going to demotivate me so much if I just set myself the task of revising the endocrine system. At the same time, if I divide all the topics into tiny categories such as hyperthyroidism and then hypothyroidism, it's just going to feel like I have a never-ending to-do list. So if any of you guys have also encountered this problem, my solution is to go onto Osmosis or even a textbook and look at how they've categorized each of the topics, because then you're going to get an idea as to how you can split up these huge topics into smaller, more manageable ones that you can easily sit down and revise. Hopefully this works. So using the exact same method I just told you guys about, I have just created my retrospective year 2 revision timetable. So I'm just going to talk through the structure and give any tips if you're looking to also create a retrospective timetable. Down this column I have the different modules I covered. So gastrointestinal, renal, endocrine, reproductive and CNS. And as you can see, I have colour coded them depending on which paper they're going to come up in. So pink means they're going to come up in medicine 3 because we did it in the first term, and the blue one is going to come up in medicine 4. And then I realised that it kind of made sense to split up the lectures in terms of anatomy and physiology, pathology, and then pharmacology. And then within those, I split it up into like the main topics we covered, which I used osmosis and some textbooks as a guide to help me to do. So let's look at the CNS as an example. Now in this one I've grouped anatomy and physiology together because when I made my Anki flashcards I actually did group anatomy and physiology together because it made so much more sense for me to be like, okay, where is the corpus callosum and what does it do? So I've split this up into the anatomy of the skull, the anatomy and physiology of the brain, and when I mean physiology of the brain, I don't mean all its functions such as sleep, memory, attention. I basically mean, right, what are the neuronal cells and how do they work? How do they fire in action potential, etc. The anatomy and physiology of the eye and ear, these were quite small topics. The somatosensory systems, and then the functions of the brain, which encompasses so many different topics like memory, attention, language learning. Then pathology, so this is all about diseases. So for me, this was a bit tricky because we had diseases that we learned about, such as stroke, such as Parkinson's, such as dementia. Then I thought it made the most sense to split up into neurological disorders and psychiatric disorders. So psychiatric, when we learned about depression, anxiety and schizophrenia, neurological, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, etc. And I split up pharmacology in the same way because really and truly you learn pharmacology at the same time as pathology because obviously you learn how to treat the diseases. So that is how I have essentially structured it. Now, the rest of the columns, here where I put round 1, round 2, round 3, whatever, will be each time that I come to revise the topic. What my plan is to do between rounds is this. So, let's say I revised anatomy of the abdomen on the 1st of April. I will then essentially try and assess myself on how well I think I know the topic after having revised it. So maybe I'll do some questions I've previously written for myself, or I'll just see how I felt learning the content. Perhaps I'll like try to explain it to myself or to someone else and see how well I can explain it. Then, let's say the session went badly, like I do not know the anatomy of the abdomen, not too far from the truth. I'm going to highlight it in red, right? Then, let's say I revise this one on the 4th of April and this one on the 3rd of April, for example. I found this one okay, I could have done better, and liver, gallbladder and pancreas, anatomy and physiology was great. When it comes to next week, and I'm thinking, right, what topic am I going to revise now? I'm going to choose to revise the topic I've highlighted in red, i.e. anatomy of the abdomen. This means that I'm prioritising the topics that I'm bad at, rather than just saying, right, I'm going to revise each topic once. Because actually, I'm so much worse at some topics than others, and these are the ones I should give priority to. And that way, eventually, I've covered all the red topics and they've turned amber, and then I've covered all the amber topics and they've turned green. So that is my plan. So going forward, I'm going to go ahead and highlight all the topics which I'm absolutely terrible at, the red ones, which is going to be like 80% of them. Start tackling them, and I think, you know what, once I get the bad topics out the way, revision is just going to feel like a weight off my shoulders, because I feel like the fear of revising is the fear of tackling a topic that you don't understand. For example, it's like, let's say you've got a mouldy banana at the bottom of your bag, you're not even going to want to touch it, and it's going to get worse and worse because you're going to be ignoring the problem. You have to just throw yourself in the deep end, get the mouldy banana out, and then continue with your day. So I'm actually really looking forward to using this. Obviously, it still looks like quite a lot of topics, and it is. Medicine involves a lot of topics, but I'm confident I can get it done. So my tips for retrospective timetables are: 1, categorise what you've learned. This is actually a really good revision aid in itself because you can scope out your subject and see, right, this is how much I need to know. And I actually found relationships. I found, right, it's not like I have to randomly know what strokes are or randomly know what Parkinson's. They are all neurological disorders. So that groups them, and 1, makes it seem less overwhelming, and 2, lets me know what I need to revise so I don't miss anything out. 2, if you're struggling with this, then definitely use textbooks, osmosis, or if you're doing your A-levels, your specification to group them. Try not to make the groups too huge, because then it's going to seem so daunting to revise that. Like, let's say you're doing biology A-level, revising the whole of DNA and genes is just gonna feel like insurmountable, and it's gonna unmotivate you. Same time, don't make the topics too small, because you're gonna have such a long list of topics to cover. It's gonna feel like a never-ending to-do list. 3, maybe color code the different modules so you know which paper they appear on, so you can immediately see, right, let's say this paper's sooner, I need to prioritize these topics. Use a traffic light system. We were introduced to the system in 6th form, but I was like, oh my god, like, stop it, I'm just gonna revise all the topics, I don't need to prioritize them. But especially when you are short for time, it's better that you identify and prioritize the topics you're worse at, so they're less likely to impact your exam grade. And I'm actually so looking forward to this. Honestly, I just see why it makes so much sense to prioritize the topics, and I feel, okay, I'm not gonna lie, I do actually feel a bit overwhelmed looking at this long list. But I feel like as soon as I start, it will be okay. My exams are in like 2.5 months, but by doing a little bit over a long time, I know it's going to seem a lot more manageable and less overwhelming. And bonus tip, create your active recall questions as you go along. Create your anki flashcards as you go along, so you don't have to begin creating them when you're meant to be revising them. So that is all for today, guys. If you're looking to revamp your study technique, which you definitely should do, always look to improve, then retrospective timetables are definitely the way to go. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on the post notifications for way more informative and fun medical school content.